Now I'm going to show you how to check a disk has been properly prepared for imaging. In other words, depending on your process, it's been wiped properly, it was encrypted, and there is no information on it, no data from its previous use that could be undeleted, reconstructed, rebuilt, and expose any files. The way I'm going to show you first is a raw read of sector 0 using C++. Now, chose sector 0. It's the trouble is the disk has got lots of blanks in it. Sector 0 is the master boot record, the MBR, and it may have information in there that indicates it's got partitions. It might have a disk signature. Many things that you can take care of in the code. Entirely depends on your process. For instance, the disk might be new. Could have been bought from a third-party supplier that also wiped it, but left something in the beginning of the disk on sector 0 that might be a bootable splash screen or other information. So first off, we're gonna just do a raw read, and to do this, we're going to download Visual Studio. Here's the Visual Studio URL, and we just want a simple one. It's only going to be trivial, really. So we get the free download. Download that, install it, and you get the setup. Now the setup will allow you to choose all sorts of environments. The one that we want is desktop development with C++. We don't want universal Windows. I mean, we won't have any Windows. It's just going to be, you know, sort of batch script. It's not going to have a GUI or anything. So that's the one to install, and having selected it, you install it. It takes a pretty long time, so we'll skip all that bit and jump straight into the IDE itself, the integrated development environment itself. Okay, start up Visual Studio and create a new project with code scaffolding. It's going to be a console app, and it's going to print Hello World by default. There you go. Next. And this is where you get the choice of calling it something. So we can call it DiskRead, or read disk, or anything you like. Location. And it's going to call it. Okay. Create. So now we'll compile it, or build it, and link it. Okay, so it succeeded and has built it. Next trick is to run it. Now, because the DiskRead itself is going to do some pretty serious administrative things to the disk, like read it raw, we're going to have to run it as administrator. Okay, and yeah. So the one that we've just built is obviously not going to require an administrator, but never mind, let's go in and have a look. So cd disk. Actually, I should have done ls, but I should have done dir, I mean. And there's the code. And the executable went into x64 debug. So let's cd to that. And we should see it there. DiskRead.exe, so and there's hello world. So we're able to compile it and run it, and the next thing is to actually install, is actually to do the code that we want to read sector 0. So here's the code, and this is going to be in the comments, and what we're going to do is just copy it and stick it into here. Delete that lot, put this in, and starting at the top, well, there's not much to say really. You use it by giving it a device number and a sector. It generates, using the device number, it generates a device name / dot / PhysicalDrive 012345. It calls create using that devName that's just created, and it's a generic read and it open existing. There can be some problems with it, like if you try and open device, and we do use this, and actually later on, if you device sort of 5 doesn't exist, you'll get that back with a return of 0. It could be permission denied if you're not running as administrator. That's only really useful when you're testing it. Once you're in WinPE, you are administrator. Or it could be just some other error that we don't recognize. It sets the device sector 0, and then it reads it. And again, it could be a generic error that it returned something that was bad. Otherwise, it'll get the raw data, and it'll get a sector's worth 512 bytes. So it goes through this. One of the things that it does is for every byte that it's read, it creates a sum of all the bytes, and if they all add up to 0, everything is 0, and that's fine. It will start appending signatures there, partition tables there, and if debug is on, so we're going to build 2 versions of this, debug and general. It's going to print out all the data in hex, and you'll be able to look at it. It'll print the signature, which we collected there, and the final thing is the master boot record, a valid one, has code at the end, which is here, and it's recognized as if the byte is 85 there and 170 there, that's a marker for an MBR. Right, and then it'll it'll give you return if it's bootable, if it just contains data, or if it's wiped and has a signature. Next thing is, this is the postamble of the the first Hello World program. You can delete this. Remember, if you do try and run it from the debugger, it won't work because this Visual Studio is not running as administrator. So it just remains to build it. So let's do that. Oh, I just check what debugs. So debug is false. I mean, let's turn that into true, so that we do actually see the data. Okay, build, and we'll just run it. I'm going to do device 0, sector 0. And it says it contains data and is bootable, which is fair enough because this is the C drive on this development laptop that I'm using, so of course it is. It just gives you walk around the MBR. So that's the hex values that signify a valid MBR, and if you remember, we changed them into decibel to test them. this is a partition table here, and that's the disk signature there. And this system is booting with UEFI, so there's no bootable code. Which, you know, if it was legacy BIOS, you'd see all this filled in. And that's DiskRead working. Next time we'll run this. Well, we'll build a release version of this to run on Windows PE, and run it on a variety of disks I've collected. So that'll be next.